Hey everyone, whoop, whoop, whoop. Let's get there. Set that up. Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today we're talking about being thin and healthy now, right now. Uh, Contrary to popular opinion, you don't need to wait to lose weight to start feeling thin and healthy. As a matter of fact, the sooner that you start to feel and think of yourself as a thin, healthy person, the easier it is to lose the weight and become a thin, healthy person. But a big mistake a lot of people make is they stay rooted in their overweight identity. They think of themselves as an overweight person and they think, okay, I'm going to be an overweight person who tries to lose weight. I'm an overeater who's going to try and eat less. I'm a sugar addict who's going to try and avoid sugar. And so I understand that that may be the best description of the situation at the moment. I understand that. But somewhere along the way of your transformation, you're going to need to go from thinking of yourself as you think yourself now to thinking yourself as the person who you want to be. If that's going to happen, if you're going to achieve the transformation you really want, somewhere along the way, you're going to have to start thinking about yourself as this new person. And I'm here to tell you, and this is backed up by the statistic that 95% of dieters that lose weight put the weight back on. Okay, so just losing the weight does not mean that you start to think like a thin, healthy person. We know this. And so if you are going to think like a thin, healthy person, you can't just lose weight to make that happen. There's got to be something more to it. And what that more is that you need to start practicing, thinking, learning how to think like a thin, healthy person. And why in the world would you wait until you lost all the weight until you start doing that? It makes a lot more sense to me to start practicing and learning and figuring out how to think like a thin, healthy person right now. And then as you start to think in these new ways, you let those new thoughts, feelings, and behaviors bring you to the weight that you want to live at. But the idea that you're just going to think of yourself as someone who always fails to lose weight, who always quits, who always overeats, who always eats sugar, if you stay rooted in that self-image and identity and those thoughts, then it's going to be really, really difficult to change your behaviors. Your behaviors flow from your thoughts. So you want to start changing your thoughts on day one, immediately. Today, if you want to lose weight, start thinking of yourself as a thin, healthy person, which doesn't mean you always act like a thin, healthy person. You can go and eat a box of donuts and still think like a thin, healthy person. How? Well, you can eat the box of donuts, and then after you finish, you can say, okay, how do I feel now? And as you realize, oh, I feel like shit, that's how a thin, healthy person thinks. They eat bullshit and they connect to the feeling. And you can start to do that right now. And the more you start to practice that now, the more you set yourself up to do that forever. Because thinking like a thin, healthy person is a practice. It's a practice, just like anything else, like playing a musical instrument or learning a language or learning a skill. It's a practice to think like a thin, healthy person. It's like learning another language. And so instead of waiting till you lose the weight to then to do it, again, now no one does that, by the way, right? Even dieters that successfully lose weight, they get to their goal weight, but they still don't know how to think like a thin, healthy person. They know how to think like a dieter. And so again, the ultimate goal of living at your goal weight for the rest of your life on your autopilot has to be supported by the mindset, the thoughts of a thin, healthy person. And the time to start working on thinking like a thin, healthy person is right now. And again, I say it one more time, thinking like a thin, healthy person does not mean that you have to think in a perfectionist sort of way. Understand that the concept of dieting is where this all or nothing philosophy comes from. This idea that you're either doing everything perfect or nothing at all is really a diet construct. So we want to let go of that. The real world, speaking as a thin, healthy person, is that I have good weeks and I have weeks where I'm not so good with things. I have good eating and I make mistakes with my eating. That's how it is. The difference between me and a dieter is when I make a mistake on my eating, I don't just give up. I don't just quit. I don't want to go back to doing nothing. In Program Yourself Thin, we're all or something. And that is a thin, healthy way to approach your body, your weight, your happiness, okay, is to be all or something. This says sometimes you're doing everything perfect, but when you're not, when you're overwhelmed, when life's coming at you full speed, you're still doing something. When you make mistakes, you don't freak out. You relax, learn from it, move forward. That's how you think like a thin, healthy person. You don't try and change everything all at once on a Monday. You strategically choose things that are comfortable for you to change. That's how a thin, healthy person thinks. And so you need to start thinking like a thin, healthy person before you need to lose any weight. And so that's why you want to start thinking like a thin, healthy person today. And if you want some support doing that, click the link in my bio or go to programyourselfthin.com. Get the free hypnosis session I give you. It is free. It's called The New Thin Me. It's a kickstart session. So it's a 10-minute session designed to get you excited and motivated to start making better choices naturally and automatically. You can go test it out. It's completely free. And I made a training for you. I send you emails. I got a bunch of stuff for you, all for free. This is my mission. I do have a program, but I give you a bunch of stuff for free. Go check it out. All right. It's going to help you out. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. That's what I do here each day, is answer questions, help people get control of their weight. What's up, Karina? Karina says, this is very helpful. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for saying that. Again, that's what I'm here for, trying to be helpful. And at the risk of sounding conceited, I think what I say is helpful. Jojo says, can you please do more hypnosis posts? I watch those every day. Sure. Yeah. I actually, I forget. Those are scheduled far ahead of time, but I think there's a lot of hypnosis ones coming up, if I'm not mistaken. I'll see if I can look here real quick. If it's showing up, but anyways, yes, there are more. Oh yeah, I can't get in there right away, but there's more hypnosis sessions coming up on TikTok and social medias. And yeah, if you love them, again, the program, holy macaroni, there's a lot of hypnosis sessions in the program. Part of the program, again, there's three main components to the program, but one of them is the goal weight hypnosis system. It's an 8-week program where every day you get a 5-minute hypnosis session in the morning, a different one built around a core weight loss mantra. And then every week you get a core weight loss. What did I say? The other ones are weight loss mantras, and the week ones are the core weight loss mantras, 8 of them, the real ones we build around. And those are 10-minute sessions you listen to at night. So you're going to bookend your day. But yeah, hypnosis is, I think, probably one of the most helpful supports for your weight loss. Meaning, I don't think hypnosis by itself is going to be very effective for long-term weight loss. It certainly is effective to help you lose weight, but long-term weight loss, hypnosis probably is not going to be enough. But it is absolutely one of the most powerful and helpful supplements to your weight loss process, no doubt. Because as I was saying, I was just talking about getting your mindset right, starting to think like a thin, healthy person. And those hypnosis sessions are probably the easiest way that I know of to start thinking like a thin, healthy person easily. Because all you do is, again, depending how long the session is, most of my sessions, I make between 5 and 10 minutes. You don't need to go into a deep state of hypnosis for it to work. So most of my sessions are 5 to 10 minutes. I have deep dive sessions. I have half-hour sessions, and some are over an hour because there's a time and a place for those too. But I find people get much better results when they listen to really positive, supportive, encouraging messages in bite-sized pieces repeatedly. That seems to be the kind of formula to get the best results, is what I've noticed. But yes, there are hypnosis sessions coming up. So keep an eye out. Keep an eye out on wherever you're watching. I know right now we're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So they should be showing up on all those platforms anyways. But some of them I can't put them because they're a little bit longer. So YouTube, I can't put them up on shorts. But YouTube, my YouTube channel, I have a bunch of hypnosis videos that are really long, like hour-long ones. 4-hour ones, a couple 8-hour ones. Let's check those out too. What's up, Duane? Duane says, lost 6 pounds since Christmas, getting discouraged. Lost 6 pounds since Christmas, getting discouraged. Well, I mean, there's not a lot of information there. I guess my first thing to point out would be, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know how much effort you're putting in. So it would be helpful to know those things. This is part of one of the first things we go through in the program, and Program Yourself Thin, is setting our expectations. Because I think, with weight loss, we're given like one expectation that you're going to jump in 100 miles an hour and just go all in and try and lose as much weight as possible, as quickly as possible. That's just that's our default thinking when it comes to weight loss. But that's a bunch of bullshit, because everyone's different. Every situation's different. And so, you could, are you giving 100%, 75%, 50%, 25%? Now, no one gives 25% pretty much, but pretty much people are going to give 100 or 0%. That's what I'm going to assume. But it's up to you, Duan, to look at what you've done. And you can let me know, by the way, if you give me a little more information, I can definitely give you a much more helpful response. But the first thing I'm thinking when you say, well, I've lost 6 pounds since Christmas, I'm getting discouraged. First thing I want to know is, what have you done? And I don't know where you're starting from. 6 pounds is not a lot since Christmas. Okay. However, I don't know what your situation is, so I've had people in my program get in the program for 7 months. They don't lose any weight. Now they come into the program having already lost 130 pounds, perhaps, or 60 pounds. So that's a different situation, but there's just a lot of factors, going into how much weight you're going to lose. And so the getting discouraged piece has to be relative to how much effort and time and energy you're putting into it. So again, if you've been doing this since Christmas, so we're 8 months in, I would have a hard time believing that you've done something really extreme and only lost 6 pounds. So again, if you want to write what you've done to lose weight, I'd love to know. And we can diagnose this a little bit. What's up, Vicky? Vicky says, Jim, what do you think about me practicing portion control with my meals and your hypnosis? I think that's great. I think practicing portion control and using hypnosis is great. Okay. I don't think it'll be enough. You have to understand this. Let's take a step back. When it comes to weight loss, you've been conditioned to think like a dieter. And when it comes to thinking like a dieter, you have to understand that dieting is marketing. Dieting is all marketing. And they know that they're appealing to people that are overwhelmed, exhausted, don't have a lot of time. So if you'll notice, all the diets, what they all have in common is that they all are built around one thing. And in diet marketing, this is called the one thing concept, right? So if you're doing keto, you're just not eating carbs. If you're doing intermittent fasting, you're just not eating for 16 hours. If you're doing Weight Watchers, you're just counting your points. If you're doing calorie restrictions, you're just eating 1,000 calories, right? If you're doing portion control, you're just doing portion control. If you're doing intuitive eating, you're just doing intuitive eating, okay? And so dieting is really usually built around one idea. And again, they do that because they don't overwhelm you. I stand on the other side of that. I don't mean to overwhelm you. But again, listen, the idea that you just need to change one thing to control your weight is complete bullshit. It's complete bullshit. I promise you, so again, you've been conditioned your whole life to think about weight loss through one thing. And really you need a comprehensive, holistic approach, in my opinion, to really live at your goal weight for the rest of your life. And yes, portion control is a piece of that. Hypnosis is a piece of that. So in Program Yourself, then we break things up. We use the goal weight pyramid, mindset, lifestyle, eating. Those are the 3 big categories that we want to figure out what to do, right? Because there's knowing what to do and there's being able to get yourself to do it. And so in Program Yourself, then we have the goal weight blueprints where you figure out what to do for you. So you customize the blueprints to you. You customize your mindset, your lifestyle, your eating. So you have a holistic, comprehensive plan and you know exactly what to do for you to get to your goal weight and stay there. Okay. The other side of it is the Program Yourself Then technique, which you learn how to run your own mind. It's a 60-second self-hypnosis exercise you use at night to program your mind to do the things that you wrote down in the blueprint. Okay. So in my opinion, you basically need to know what to do, how to get yourself to do it. And then you need support to practice that and implement it. And that's kind of what Program Yourself Then offers. But the idea that just portion control, because again, you can know all the philosophy and science of portion control, and it's not going to mean shit, because what's ultimately going to dictate your success with portion control, keto, intermittent, it doesn't, pick your poison, whatever plan you want to do. What ultimately is going to dictate your success is your mindset. How can you get yourself to do portion control? I mean, understanding portion control conceptually is anyone can figure that out. Oh, I'll just eat 30% less food. Okay, great. That sounds easy now, but when it comes time to actually consume less, can you do it? That's the big question. And that's the big thing that the diet industry never shows you. Again, the diet industry is always telling you what to do, and then it's up to you to just force yourself to do it. That's clearly not working. No one loses weights on diets. 75% of the population is overweight or obese. So clearly that plan doesn't work. And so Program Yourself Then really seeks to fill that gap of how do you get yourself to do the things you already know you should do. I'm going to assume, Vic, you've known you should control your portions better for many, many years. I'm going to assume that. And so the real secret isn't knowing that I should control my portions. The secret is, how do I get myself to control the portions regularly in a comfortable and relatively easy way? And the hypnosis will help you do that. But ultimately, you got to get your mindset right. You've got to start thinking like a thin, healthy person who naturally consumes and eats smaller portions and feels completely satisfied and comfortable. You hear the difference, right? So you get a sense of what I'm talking about. We need to go deeper than just me telling you what to do. Again, the entire weight loss industry is people telling you what to do, and then it's up to you to just force yourself to do it. And that doesn't work. And I could sit here and talk for hours about why that doesn't work, but I'm not going to. But the way your brain and body work, the idea that you're just going to force yourself to do something is ridiculous. But again, it's a good start, Vicky. So get started with it, but understand you're going to need more than portion control. And if you don't, great. Okay. There's always outliers. But if you start portion controlling, everything's going great. And then at some point, if you find yourself resisting the portion control, remember my words and come back here and we'll talk about whatever you're dealing with. Okay. But don't be surprised when just portion control isn't enough. Just intermittent fasting isn't enough. You know what I mean? Like again, we need more than just one tactic. We need a holistic, comprehensive approach. And when you approach it that way, again, it becomes a lot easier, ironically. Linda says, I was a thin, not so healthy person 5 years ago. Then I stopped smoking and have gained 40 pounds. It's funny, but 40 pounds lighter, I considered myself overweight. Yeah, boy, isn't weight like that, right? It's so relative. I mean, geez, how many of you, it's like you look back at your body when you were in your 20s and you say, what the fuck was I thinking? What was I thinking? You know what I mean? Just like, Jesus, you can feel again. And that's the nature of the reality we live in now, is that your entire life at this point, all of us, we've had like perfection forced into our eyeballs since we were born, this idea of the perfect body. And so even when we have this beautiful, healthy, happy body, we still feel overweight. Because why? Because we're always comparing ourselves, to something that's supposed to be the ideal. And so it's very common to go through life and never feel at a good weight. That to me, I talk a lot about weight mastery. That's what I'm all about, was weight mastery. And I think there's two sides to that. I think there's action and I think there's acceptance. I think acceptance is just a huge piece of this puzzle, because your expectations of what you expect out of yourself are so, again, I'm not telling you whatever your goals are, your goals. So have them and I honor them and great for you. What I'm saying is it's helpful to take a step back and reflect on what the goals you have are. Because a lot of those goals are influenced by a picture in a magazine, an article you read that told you what the goal weight's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like this idea of what we're aiming at, a lot of times we didn't really sit down and decide it. It was decided for us and forced down, our brains without our saying anything. And anyways, long story is we go through life always feeling less than, even when we're at a good weight. And we just have to, that's just the way it is. The way dopamine works in our brain, the second you see a picture, the second I see a picture of Brad Pitt in Fight Club, that's the ideal. And anything less than that, and I'm out of shape. I'm not like that. I don't look like that. I'm overweight. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter what my weight is, unless I train the rest of my life to look like that, I'm less than. And then I'll get to that and then I'll see someone else. I'm like, oh, I'm less than them now. And so to some degree, that's the nature of reality. And believe me, I always tell this story. I remember there was a person I was certifying as a PYT coach, and she had been a professional, a competitive bodybuilder. And I asked her, I said, what was it like the second you were about to go on that stage? I mean, you are in absolute peak physical shape. You've been working at this for years, and you've been for this moment, you know what I mean? They dial into it for months. And I'm like, what do you do that exact moment? You're in the mirror looking, getting ready to go out there. What are you thinking? And she goes, I'm thinking, I'm looking at the flaws. I'm noticing all the things that aren't right. And it's just, it never ends. Your brain will never let you just feel great about yourself. It'll always point out someone who's better. And so that's just the nature of being a human. And we've got to manage that. And that's where the acceptance comes in, that we have to accept who we are. I'm not Brad Pitt. I don't have his genetics. I'm not Brad Pitt. I'm not working out like him. I'm not an actor. That's not me. So if I don't look like Brad Pitt, who gives a shit? I'm not Brad Pitt. You know what I mean? And I know it sounds silly to say it out loud, but when you really reflect on some of the thoughts and ideas and beliefs you have, it's like they're bullshit. You know what I mean? Like they're not really relevant to you, So anyways. But I get it, Linda. Yeah. So that's another one too, the smoking and then putting the weight on. I will tell you at this point, I swear there are real reasons why that happens, but it's also a very powerful hypnotic suggestion as well. And it's no secret because, listen, folks, the processed food industry is owned by the cigarette. Well, I wouldn't say they're owned, but the cigarette companies, the cigarette industry and the food process industry is the same industry. Okay. So it's not surprising that there's this really, global, hypnotic belief among smokers that if I stop smoking, I'm going to gain a bunch of weight. Now, again, I know there are real physiological, psychological reasons why that can tend to happen. No question about it. But it's also a reinforced concept because the cigarettes and the food industries are the same. And I mean that. Nabisco and RJR Reynolds are merged. They're merged together. They're the same company. The parent company of Kraft and General Foods is Philip Morris. So, again, these food companies, it's funny because you feel such warm fuzzies for them and you feel such, disdain for the cigarette companies, but they're the same company and they use the exact same tactics on you where they make the most addictive product possible, use the most aggressive marketing they can, and then sit on the science of how bad it is for you. And so it's one and the same. So, I get it with the cigarettes. Obviously that's not an uncommon thing. But again, what it comes down to is it's managing stress is usually the first main thing you got to deal with. There's other things as well, but the biggest thing of going from being a smoker to a non-smoker, not putting weight on, is having a strategy to relax because smokers use their cigarettes as a way to relax and break state, which means, the average smoker is smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. That's 20 cigarettes every day. And so that's 20 times a day where they're usually getting out of the situation that's kind of frustrating or boring or annoying or stressing them out and then going somewhere else, going outside, breathing slowly, breathing deeply, getting into a different environment, getting away from the bullshit 20 times a day for the average smoker. And so all of a sudden you get rid of that. Now, how are you managing your stress? How are you relaxing now without the cigarettes? And most smokers don't come up with an alternative to the smoking. And so they start getting stressed and they don't know how to deal with that energy and they tend to go right to the food, so that's usually the first thing that needs to be dealt with going from smoking to non-smoking. So, Linda said, I need to work on my mindset. Yeah, for sure. Now I'll tell you, Linda, don't take this the wrong way, but again, you got to understand I'm here. I take the no bullshit oath when I get on here. I do this for free so that I can just let her rip. Okay. Because I feel like you deserve this, everyone. I feel like you're so bullshitted by the weight loss industry that I feel like it's my duty to be honest. And what I'm going to honestly say, most likely, Linda, is that you probably have no clue how to work on your mindset. So because I hear people all this time say things like, I need to work on my mindset. I really, I don't need a diet. I need to really change my lifestyle. And it's like, okay, that sounds great. It sounds great in the moment, but what do you mean by that? How exactly are you going to work on your mindset? What steps are you going to take to work on your mindset? And if you all think about that, because I know most of you are going to agree that, yes, my mindset is important when it comes to weight loss. How would I think all the time? That is a big factor in my weight. Yes. So you may even agree with that. And you may say, yeah, you know what? I do need to change my mindset. But my question to you is, how would you even go about changing your mind? What does that even mean to you? What is your mindset? These are the questions that I've been focused on for over 30 years, obsessively. And to be completely honest, I don't feel there's a lot of very satisfactory answers out there, which is why I've spent 30 years basically creating Program Yourself Thin. And so again, I've asked this question so many times. What is your mindset? How would you change your mindset? And what you're going to realize is it's kind of like the emperor's got no clothes. You have no fucking clue. You really have no idea, Yes. Linda says, don't compare myself with others. Sure. but that's just one little thought pattern, I'll give you an example just as a counterpoint. So I'm not just going to sit here and, be aggressive with you all. Let me just point out, because I will tell you, studying mindset for over 30 years, the queen of mindset, the queen king of mindset, the top of the mindset pile is a lady named Carol Dweck. She is the creator of the growth fixed mindset concept, right? That a lot of people have heard about. And that's about as mindset-y as you can go and learn. All right. Because if I ask you who you're going to study mindset from, good luck, right? What is a mindset? you know? And so in Program Yourself Thin, mindset, again, because there's the goal weight pyramid, mindset, lifestyle, eating. So what's mindset and Program Yourself Thin? Okay. Because in Program Yourself Thin, it's a very specific set of 6 steps we go through. So the first thing of your mindset is your motivation. Do you not? Now, again, Linda, I'm not picking on you. Again, don't compare yourself with others. I think that's a great thing to work on. Okay. I just want to make that crystal clear. Okay. But I want to compare that to what I'm about to say. And I want to show you this is why you're struggling. And this goes for everything, folks. This goes for lifestyle and it goes for eating as well. You have no idea how to change your eating either, by the way. You know how to have willpower and follow some crazy plan. You have no idea how to genuinely structure your reading in a way that really works for you. You have no idea. Lifestyle, forget it. If I ask you what your lifestyle is, you couldn't probably name things to me. We go through 8 habits. It's very, very specific because that's what I'm trying to tell you. No one's giving you the real details of how to get the results you want. They're kind of giving you vague things to tell you. Like keto, what, just stop eating carbs? Just portion control? These are so vague, they're practically meaningless. And even the idea, like, don't compare myself with others, fine. Again, not to say that that wouldn't help you. It will. But now compare it to what I'm about to say. So mindset and Program Yourself Thin, the first thing you're going to go through is your motivation. First piece of mindset, your motivation. Do you know how to motivate yourself? Can you motivate yourself? Because it doesn't matter if you compare yourself with others or not. If you can't motivate yourself, what are we even doing? You know? And I think this is step number 1. This is the first thing you do in the program is you motivate yourself. You learn how to motivate yourself genuinely. Because most of you have no idea how to motivate yourself. And if you don't know how to motivate yourself, what are you doing? You're trying to force yourself to do it, but most of the time you're not doing that. You're not really motivated. Again, your motivation's here. You want to lose weight, but you want to stay the same more. And so you stay the same. So the first thing you need to do is learn how to motivate yourself intentionally in a way that works. Okay, that's the first thing we do. Second thing we do is talk about your self-image and identity. Because you think about yourself in a certain way. And if you've been overweight for a while, you think of yourself as an overweight person. And it's going to be really difficult to lose weight and then live at your goal weight long-term if you always think of yourself as an overweight person, an overeater, a sugar addict. It's going to be real hard. So again, we start to work on redefining how you identify yourself because you want to be a thin, healthy person. So let's figure out what that means. And that's the second thing we do. So your self-image, so motivation, self-image. Third thing is, do you know how to change your habits? Do you have a strategy? Do you have a neuroscientifically backed plan to change your habits? Do you understand your habits, how they run, how to change them? And I know you don't. I know no one does. And again, you're just winging. You're just trying to use willpower to make yourself behave better. Okay. So we got motivation, self-image, and habits. The next thing's emotions. Do you know how to manage your emotions? Do you know how to feel the emotions you want to feel in your life genuinely without food? And do you know how to manage the shitty emotions that you don't want to feel in your life without food? And I kind of already know what the answer is because again, in this culture, we've been conditioned to use food as our main emotional management strategy. So we go through that in the program. Next thing is thinking like a thin, healthy person. The nuts and bolts. How do you think like a thin, healthy person? You don't. I know you don't know, folks. I know you don't know. It's fine. But it's like you have to learn how to think like a thin, healthy person. What questions to ask, what words to use, what to say, how to focus on stuff. And then finally is maintenance. Do you know how to maintain? Not know you know how to maintain your weight. How dare you? I'm talking about you know how to maintain from day 1 to day 2, week 1 to week 2, month 1 to month 2. Do you know how to manage stress? Do you know how to manage when you feel down? Do you have strategies for that? Do you know how to get your mindset to deal with setbacks? Do you? Do you know how to get back on track quickly? Me thinks you don't. Me thinks you don't know any of these things. So if you don't know any of those 6 things, now if you do, congratulations. But if you don't know any of these 6 things, how are you going to lose weight and live at your goal weight exactly? How exactly would that work? And we didn't get the lifestyle piece or the eating piece, but just the mindset piece that I just went through. Now, by the way, I think you're going to find there's no program on the planet that breaks mindset down that way. I created this right out of my own head. I'm obsessed with this shit. I read 50 books a year. I've been studying this stuff. I've done over 6,000 weight loss sessions. I've been doing this a long time. And I created what needed to be created because it does not exist as far as I know. I don't know when I'm breaking mindset out in these 6 categories. And then in Program Yourself, then you get the goal weight blueprint. And so you start with mindset and we go through those categories. I ask you questions, you answer them so that you know what motivates you. You know how to think of yourself as a thin, healthy person. You know how to manage, how to identify and then manage your habits effectively. You know how to manage your emotions. You know how to think like a thin, healthy person. You know how to maintain. Don't you think that would be helpful in getting the results you want? Or do you think it doesn't matter? Do you know what I mean? Like, so again, my main point is to you, not to make you feel bad about it, but to point out that the reason you haven't lost weight is because you don't know any of this shit. You haven't learned any of this. None of it. You're given one fucking dumbass tactic and told to just do that. Oh, just stop eating carbs. Huh? Just stop eating carbs? That's the dumbest shit. I got to tell you, it's the fucking dumbest. The dumbest of the dumb is the keto diet. I'm telling you it is. Oh, well, it's 50 pounds in a month, Jim. I don't give a shit. I don't care if you lose 100 pounds in a week because you're not going to keep it off. So I don't care. All I care about is long-term weight loss. I don't care about short-term weight loss at all. And if that's not your thing, then be gone, because this isn't for you. Again, I wish you good luck on your journey, but I'm here for people that are willing to put the time, effort in to master their weight so you can live at your weight, the weight you want to live at for the rest of your life. And I see nothing out there that comes close to this. And by the way, so that's just mindset. Let me give you one more. I'll go through the lifestyle piece real quick. So the lifestyle, because I'll say, okay, y'all know you need to change your lifestyle, right? You don't need a diet. You need to change your lifestyle. Okay, yeah, right. Have you thought about what that means? What's your lifestyle? What is your lifestyle exactly? What is it? Being healthier? What's that mean? I got to exercise more? Huh? So here we go. In Program Yourself Thin, we go through these 8 in order of importance: sleep, hydration, relaxation, breathing, nourishment, movement, meditation, gratitude. And you go through those. You learn different strategies to do them simply, practically, easily, and you start implementing them strategically. And it's like, again, we take it through step by step, and then we get to the eating. And the 3 phases of eating are awareness, structure, and optimization. And so it's light years ahead of any fucking dumb diet. Any diet that you can just write down on a napkin is never going to work for you. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Your eating is like the fundamental thing to being a human. You have to eat, I'm not going to say how many times you eat because people have different ideas, but you need to eat every single day. It's like your whole brain and body are wired and geared to eat. And you think you just need to be told by someone to, control your portions. Do you think you're one suggestion like that away from living at your goal weight? Do you think that's it? I mean, again, I say, like with weight, you need to approach your weight like you did college. You have to understand this. This makes me so crazy, because dieting is one of the biggest psychological operations that's ever been pulled on us as a culture, as a population. Because dieting, what they've pulled off is that dieting is just get rich quick schemes. That's all dieting. Dieting is get rich quick scheme. Okay. But when it comes to get rich quick schemes, the reason you can identify and recognize it as get rich quick scheme is because there's a traditional regular way to make income, right? Where you learn how to create value and you get compensated for it in its most simplistic way. And so we have the traditional way of making money. And so because we have that traditional way, by relativity, you can see a get rich quick scheme's bullshit. It's bullshit. Dieting's bullshit too, but you've never been taught a legitimate, real way to manage your weight so that you can identify it as bullshit. That's why I'm here every single day. Every day I'm here because I want you to know the reason you've struggled is not because of your self-control. It's not because of your willpower. It's because you have no fucking clue how to live at your goal weight. You've never been taught how to live at your goal weight. You've never learned this mindset stuff. You've never learned the lifestyle stuff, and you've never learned the eating stuff. And on top of that, you have never learned how to run your mind. You have no idea how your mind works. None. I'm telling you, none. And so I don't want you to get upset about this. I want you to realize that the problem is not you. It's that you've never learned this information. Never. And so once you learn it, it's a whole different game. It's not that hard to take control of your weight and your health. It's really not. You think it's hard because you think like a dieter, and so all you care about is losing weight as fast as you possibly can. Again, the diet industry, my favorite metaphor that I use is that as a dieter, you are in a marathon race, but you got the bright idea that you're going to run it like a sprinter. You're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to sprint. I'm going to sprint this motherfucker. I'm just going to sprint the whole way. And for the first eighth of a mile, you sprint and you're way out in front. You're like, oh shit, this is perfect. Everything's going great. And the next eighth of a mile, you pass out and can't complete the race. But the thing is, then you finish the race. You say, you know what I got to do? Next time I just need to sprint more. I need to sprint longer. Well, you can't. You can't sprint a marathon. Sorry. There are physical limitations. There are psychological limitations. You can't diet the rest of your life. And that's why you're set up for failure as a dieter. It's not built for long-term success. And it's so overwhelming. Dieting is the fucking worst. It's the worst. It's miserable. Every time, forever. You're never going to like it. Never. I, on the other hand, love how I live. I love how I think, live, and eat. I absolutely love it. And does it mean I'm perfect? No. Jesus Christ, I ate 3 cupcakes yesterday and like 2 pizzas. It was crazy. I make mistakes too. And it wasn't really a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. I went a little overboard, but whatever. I got off on vacation last week. So there's a little bit of, blowback, but it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like I have the mindset to handle that. It's not a big deal. It's one day. When I start today and I had a big breakfast, I waffled and stuff. I didn't want it. So I followed up with that. Oh God. Oh no. Am I going to fall apart? Am I going to pull the weight back on? Nope, I'm not. Because I got the mindset to handle it. I got the lifestyle to handle it. I got the eating structures to handle that. So again, it's not about being perfect. It's about having a real legitimate plan. And you don't have one, folks. I promise you don't, because there's no fucking plan out there that I've seen. I don't mean to be this guy. I know it sounds like delusions of grandeur, but I literally have not seen a plan that I think I have not seen any plan that's close to mine. I genuinely feel that way. Because it's not the fucking information. It's not the information. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I could give you a giant book filled with all the nutritional facts of every food on the planet to you. Do you think that's going to help you lose weight? I could send you to a nutritionist or a dietitian, have him custom make a nutrition plan for you. You think that's going to help you lose weight? You know it's not. Why? Because you know where the problem is. So again, I see very few systems that really have this holistic approach. Yes, you need to know what to eat, how to eat. Yes, you need to know what to do to kind of be your healthiest version. Yes, you need to know what to think. But the thing that makes it all work is you need to know how to run this. I don't see anything teaching that. How do you practically and reliably run your own brain? How? This makes me cry. I always say this, that it's like in this culture, it's like we got a book, a diagnostic manual to diagnose every psychological illness. It's this big. But every human on the planet suffers from the exact same problem. And it's that we either can't get ourselves to do something we want to do and should do, or we can't stop ourselves from doing something we don't want to do anymore. Right? And that's how your weight loss basically boils down to, the biggest issue. And you have no strategy to deal with that. Me and my clients do. We do. We learn how to run our minds so that the new behaviors, the behaviors that got me and then keep me my goal weight, run automatically, pretty much. I still have management. It's kind of like, you start a garden, it's a lot of work in the beginning and then it's tending, so I still tend to my stuff. I'm still there. I'm aware, but it's not like a diet. I lost 50 pounds over 30 years ago and I've maintained the same weight. I had a little blip where I put 25 pounds on 13 years ago. But I have not dieted once, not one diet. I have not worked out consistently in any way. I do some real gentle ass yoga. It's not burning any calories. Okay. So, the things that you believe you need to do to lose weight are completely wrong. And this, it's just kind of the classic stuff, that if everyone's getting bad results, you're probably better off doing something different, right? If any, you know what I mean? Like, and again, you have to stop being seduced by fast weight loss, because that's where your mistake is. You see someone lose weight quickly and you get literally entranced. Talk about hypnosis. You get entranced and you say, I'm going to do that, but you have to zoom out and say, okay, how long have they kept it off? If you, for example, I'll give you an example. Because this is what I've done. This is how I came up with Program Yourself Thin, by the way. I didn't just pull all this shit out of my head. I didn't have this stuff in my head. I've read, I've studied. The most important thing I've done is I have talked with people who have lost weight and kept it off for at least 2 years. Those are the main people that I have learned from. And those are the people you want to learn from, not the people who lose 50 pounds in a month and then put it all back on the next month. And that's who you keep learning from. You need to learn from the people that lost weight and then kept it off, because I'm telling you what, they got completely different mindsets. Jamie Anderson says, you're changing my life. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Appreciate you saying that. Yeah. TikTok, I'm sorry. I've been missing you all. So if there's any questions, I'm getting to them now. This is live, by the way. I know sometimes I start yapping and then people think it's a video, but no, it is live. What's the day today? Thursday, August 14th. Where's the time go? Anae says, having a hard time getting back into losing weight after my vacation. It's been 2 months since I'm back. Yeah, I get it. Back after vacation is there are extra challenging times, right? After vacations, after the holidays, obviously when life just kicks you in the gut, those times are tough, but there's definitely times. I'm back from holidays from last week. And this week's, it's a harder time, no doubt about it. In Program Yourself Thin, and this was one of my clients' phrases, and I love it. We call it re-entry week. Sometimes it's re-entry weeks. Okay. You got re-entry months, but that's okay. But again, I will tell you, I don't know what you're doing to lose weight, but what most people do to lose weight is very extreme. Most people, because they're so impatient, they jump into a plan 100%, and it's difficult, right? Again, that all or nothing sort of thinking, and to go to all is really hard. And sometimes when you get off a vacation, it's hard to get all the way back up here again. That's why it's very important. Probably the most important philosophy of Program Yourself Thin is the all or something philosophy. So instead of being all or nothing like a dieter, Program Yourself Thin, we seek to be all or something. And I will be honest. I mean, sometimes I was like this, this past winter, I put 10 pounds on. It's probably the most since, that 15 years ago. And even though I knew what I was doing to put the weight on, but at the same time, I still maintained a lot of my core habits. And so that helped me get through a challenging time, get back on track. And now I dropped the weight again, but again, it's important to understand that, again, weight loss is just about one phase. It's about losing weight. What I'm talking about is living at your goal weight, and living at your goal weight is kind of like this. It's not a static thing. I always liken like living at your goal weight and in your eating and your lifestyle and your mindset. It's kind of like you're surfing. And in the sense that, like, when you're surfing, it's a dynamic process, right? Because the wave is constantly changing, right? The conditions are constantly changing, and you have to constantly be adjusting to it in real time, right? And so your weight and your eating and all this stuff is the same type of thing. We always have to be kind of aware, because there's always changes going on. I was talking this yesterday. The season's changing could be a trigger for, I was doing so good and then I fell off. It could be the season's changing. It could certainly be coming back from vacation, the holidays. There's a lot of different things that can trigger us to go into a different mode. And it's not a big deal. It's just something we need to manage. I was joking. I was literally talking about this yesterday, that for me, one thing that showed up is, I kind of got a handle on the alcohol, and especially beer. I was a big beer drinker, and I was doing really good with it. And then all of a sudden spring came around and I started drinking more again. I was like, what is going on? I had a handle on this. And I realized, back in college, I remember the first spring we had, it was so fun. We brought the sofa out, we were drinking beers, having a blast. And so it's like, I associate that together, right? So it was easier for me to not drink a lot of beers, the other ones. And all of a sudden and I thought I had it licked, right? So I'm like, oh my God, it's been 6 months. I've hardly been drinking any beers. I've got it. But then all of a sudden spring comes back and it's like, boop, this little click goes in, and now I want to drink beers. Right? Coffee's like that. It's like, I'm good. Like, I'm not drinking any coffee. And all of a sudden summer comes around. I really want a nice coffee. And the flip side, when it gets cold. So again, there's just a lot of subconscious factors that are impacting you. And the first thing to realize is that that's going on, and not to freak out when your behaviors kind of flip around and flop around a little bit, because dieting always sells you this bullshit idea that you're going to get to your goal weight or do your plan, and you're just going to be this fucking robot who just eats that way forever. You're not. You're a dynamic human being, where things are constantly changing and evolving. And so you need to have the ability to manage that. And again, ground zero, managing that is your mindset. What are you saying to yourself? What are you thinking? And, that's where it all starts. And so I get it, Anae, but again, 2 months, fine. You're still thinking about it. What I would suggest to you almost more than anything is, I bet there's a bit of all or nothingness going on, meaning that whatever you were doing to lose weight, you're having a hard time getting yourself to do it to that level now. But realize that, here is a lot better than here. Again, that's all or something. And again, listen, folks, my people are overthinkers, perfectionists, action takers. And so the idea that they're not going to be all or nothing, it's like the idea that they're going to do something and not be all, is very upsetting to them. Now, ironically, they have an easier time being nothing, but it's because they're just checked out. They're not thinking about anything. But the second they're kind of thinking about their way, okay, I'm going to do this, they got to do it 100%. And so the main thing I teach my people and taught myself is that, yeah, great. When you want to do 100%, do 100%. But when you're not feeling that, come down. I'll give you a perfect example. Just an example of this is easy to understand. I've started to do more push-ups last 5-6 months, got my shoulder fixed up. It's feeling good. I started doing more push-ups than I've done literally in my life, right? I'm doing push-ups every day. I'm feeling great. And so I go away for a week. I don't do any push-ups, right? Come back, do some push-ups. It's harder. That night I'm sore, right? The next day I'm kind of sore. I'm trying to do the same amount of push-ups. It's hard. My brain said, oh, I don't like this. I don't want to do this. It hurts. I don't like it. So you know what I did on Wednesday? I cut way back. I did, I usually do, it doesn't matter how many I do, but it's like, I do usually this many and I'm just feeling sore. I'm feeling tired. I'm not liking, I don't want to do it. So now I cut it down to here. It's okay. It's a day, but again, that's one of the main things we got to get out of is this streaky thinking. You need to be able to absorb the changes in your life, the changes in your behavior. There's good and bad days and it's not a problem. That's normal. The secret is getting back on track quickly, being able to absorb the mistakes. Okay. So yeah, keep going in there. Again, 2 months isn't even a big deal, but work to commit on to some of the little things that were really helpful to you. But maybe not everything at this point. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask them. What's up, Vicky? Hitting all the bases. Love it. I was hitting a lot of bases there. I was talking for a bit there. I'm sorry if I missed some of your questions. I think I missed a couple of questions along the way. What's up, Karen? And if you want them, just ask them again. Cause TikTok's funny. If a lot of questions come in and I miss them and I scroll down, it cuts them off. So I can't even get to them. So apologize for that. Angelitino says, yes, sometimes we treat ourselves. We have to enjoy life. We try. Yes. You got to enjoy yourself. You know what I mean? Again, which doesn't mean, even like last night, I ate a lot of pizza, maybe a little bit more, maybe a piece or two more than I could have gone without a piece or two. But then the cupcakes came out. They're all like these magical cupcakes. And I knew then, I was like, oh my God, this is too much. I would have never done it on my own. It's just a situation that popped on me. But they were really good and I enjoyed them. And I understand the situation. I'm not worried about it because it's not a regular thing for me. You know what I mean? So it's not a big deal. But these things happen again. Where folks, were human, I want you to see that in me. I want you to really understand, because that response is so crucial. You know what I mean? That's like, oh, I'm not happy with what I did yesterday. That's not how I want to eat normally, but it's also not devastating in any way. Do you know what I'm saying? I take it as, that's not how I want to behave. Next time around, I'll do this. I'll tweak this or whatever, and it's like, when you start to meet the challenges of weight loss from that calm, grounded place, it's so different, you have so much more ability to come up with better ideas and strategies than you realize, most likely. Angelina says, we try to teach our kids use exercise daily and we treat ourselves times off phones. Yep. Oops, shit. Let me see here. Yeah, again, I'm sorry if I missed some of your questions, but ask them again if you want to ask them. Sister Tay says, how strict should we be in avoiding all sugar in our diet? Let me just, I always remind people that the golden rule in Program Yourself, then there's no right or wrong. There's only what works for you. Okay. And I hold that deep in my heart. Okay. Because I've seen people succeed with all different strategies. It just depends on the person. So I can't tell you how strict you should be. What I can say is to pay attention to how you feel when you're reducing sugar. And so if you have completely cut sugar out of your life, how was that for you? Now I'm going to assume for most people, cutting all the sugar out of your diet is extremely stressful and miserable. And so I'll just leave that there. Now, if you're a person who it's easy and you love cutting all the sugar out, then great. You do that. No sugar. That's great. You're not going to have any, there's no negative effects of having no sugar in your body and life, that I know of. So that being said, I guess maybe the one negative, depending on who you are, is that you may miss eating sugar, right? And that's where I fall. I like eating sugar sometimes. Now, I think of sugar kind of like alcohol. So I consume sugar, but I consume it very moderately and I treat it with a lot of respect. And I think that's the secret. So again, how strict you should be, I will say for most people, the more strict you are, the more sugar you're going to eat ultimately. That's what I believe. And it's a well-known psychological effect that the more you try and restrict something, the more you're going to end up consuming it. And there's a lot of reasons why that happens. That being said, you do you. But if you go and cut all the sugar out and then you go and end up binging it, you may want to try a different approach. And the approach I use is in Program Yourself, we have clean and pleasure days. So for me, basically 4 or 5 days a week, my intention and goal is to eat really clean, meaning a bunch of things, but primarily I don't want to eat any sugar. I don't want to eat any flour. I don't want to eat processed food. And so that's my goal and intention. It doesn't always happen. Yeah, last night was a Wednesday night. I'm eating a bunch of cupcakes, but that's an outlier. Right? That's very unusual. So most kind of Monday through Friday afternoon, I'm not really eating very much sugar, if any at all. But then on the weekend, I will allow myself to eat sugar. And so I look to create kind of a balance. That's what feels best for me. It's kind of in a comfortable balance. And so I think the idea of being strict and just going cold turkey and cutting it all out, I think it sounds great, but I think I've rarely seen that work for people. There's sugar in everything. And again, you got to look at it. It's not just about weight. It's about quality of life. Would your quality of life be better if you never ate dessert again? It wouldn't be for me. You know what I mean? It's not for me personally, but that's for each person to decide. So again, I'm not a big fan of being really strict. I don't see it for most people being very effective. So that's what I think about it. Bill says battling emotional and stress eating. Yeah. Well, listen, even that framing, I don't love that. Battling emotional and stress eating. You don't want to battle it. It's you, folks. So if you're a stress eater and an emotional eater, please don't battle yourself. Here's what I mean. The stress eating and the emotional eating is not the problem. It's a symptom of the problem. Okay. The emotional eating is happening because you're feeling emotions that you don't know how to deal with genuinely. So you're using the food to distract yourself from the problem. And it makes you feel better for a few moments while you distract yourself and put this shit in your body. Because again, food does have a pain relieving quality to it. So again, we've been conditioned to use food emotionally our whole lives. But again, it's not dealing with the core problem. Same with stress eating, right? So don't battle yourself. Support yourself. Understand yourself. And so if you're an emotional eater, what emotions are triggering the eating? Let's just go with stress, for example. So if you're a stress eater, please don't just try and stop stress eating, because the stress eating is a symptom of the deeper problem that you're stressed. So if you just get rid of the stress eating, what are you left with? Stress, right? And you're not going to lose much weight when you're really stressed anyways, okay? So what I want to do is I want to ask the question again. So if it's emotional eating, we want to figure out which emotions are going on and triggering us. But let's just say stress is one of them. And so what I want to do is say, okay, when am I most impacted by the stress eating? Maybe it's in the afternoons. Maybe it's at night. Maybe it's the weekdays, whatever. We want to notice the pattern. And then I want to find the specific situations. Maybe it's when my boss busts my chops every Thursday in the afternoon, and then I get stressed out and eat every Thursday afternoon, right? And so now I want to look at that and say, what's a better response to that? I don't want to eat anymore, but I need to de-stress. What can I do to relax and calm down when my boss comes and busts my chops? So again, the core issue here is that you don't know how to deal with the emotions on a genuine level. Stress, for example, you don't know how to relax without food, most likely. You don't know how to calm yourself down. And so the food is the best option available to you for you to de-stress. And so you're going to take it in the moment. But as soon as you come up with a better option, you'll take that option. And then that's how you start to lose weight. But again, don't just stop yourself from emotionally and stopping yourself from stress eating. Seek to resolve the core issue, and the symptom tends to resolve itself. Okay. So yeah, attempt to not battle it as much as you can. Okay. Support yourself. Pam says, you are concise, informed, and a clear messenger. Thanks. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I take a lot of pride. I am a hypnotist and a neurolinguistic programmer. So yes, the words I use are very intentional. The way I speak is extremely practiced. I've been doing this for a long time, and it's done this way very intentionally. So it's always nice to hear someone say that. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate it. Nancy says, really appreciating your information. You're extremely relaxing hypnotism. Thank you from Montreal. All right. Love Montreal. Just in Montreal last year. It was hot as shit. Right? I was surprised. I'm from Boston. Montreal's supposed to be cold, but it's hot in the summer sometimes. So yes. Well, thank you. And I'm glad you appreciate that. Yes. The hypnosis is so relaxing. It's so nice. Where's your registration site? Linda, you know what I'll do? You're on Facebook. I'll just type it in. Go get this hypnosis session here. Again, you can click the link in my bio if you're on most like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I mean, you probably could Facebook too, but I'll put this link right in there, and you can go get the hypnosis session. And once you get the hypnosis session, you're on my email list, and I send you a bunch of cool stuff as well. So you can use that link, Linda. Vicky says, Jim, what do you think about macros? Is this more bull made up from the diet industry to keep us confused with weight loss? Yeah, I think so. I mean, listen, I think macros, me personally, I like to take all of it in and use what's most useful to me. I never think in terms of macros. I personally have never measured my macros. Never, ever, never. I've never done it. And here I sit, exactly at the weight that I want to be at. Feeling, I'm healthy by all objective measurements I know of. I've never tracked macros. So I think that they are, I don't think it's bad to know about macros. And I think it's good to understand nutrition through the lens of macros and what they do to your body and all that. I think when you start to look at macros in a dietary sense, like you're in a diet using macro philosophy to do it, I think it starts to cause issues, especially nowadays, because what you're going to do is you're going to overstate protein. You're going to be fixated and think you need more protein than you do, in my opinion, most of the time. And you're going to think you need less carbs. And so I don't agree with those. So again, that's not what I use, for me, my main food distinctions I use are food and food stuff. That's the biggest one I use. So my main paradigm of food is the difference between natural whole foods that we've been eating for millions of years on planet Earth and food stuff, processed food things that we've only been eating for the last 50 to 60 years. And so my first primary goal is to get as much whole, natural, healthy food into my body as possible. And the less processed food stuff I want as little of that in my body as possible. So that's the first thing I do. Now, I also think in calories too. And so I think in terms of calories and calorie density. Now, the calorie density pretty much follows what I just said. Calorie density is the amount of calories in a volume of food. Okay. And so if you have, a cupcake, right, that's about this big, that might have 400 calories in it. Whereas an apple, the same size, may have 100 calories in it. Okay. So they're the same size, but they have completely different amounts of calories in them. So the cupcake's very calorie dense and the apple's not calorie dense. Okay. And so it's important to understand that what fills you up, what makes you feel full, is not just the calories. The calories do play a part, but the bigger part is the volume of the food. So again, it's not just calories thing. Folks, if calories are the things that filled you up, you eat fucking tons of calories and you're always hungry, right? I know what that's like. I was there. The more calories I ate, the more hungry I got. So it's not just calories, it's volume of food and it's the nutrients in the food, because that becomes the next paradigm I look at my food through is nutrient density and nutrient variety. Now, again, it's all part of the whole natural foods. If you eat whole natural foods, pretty much you just do this stuff automatically, but I'm breaking that down a little bit more for you. So nutrient density and nutrient variety of the foods I eat, I'm looking to eat high nutrient dense, high nutrient variety foods. And that's the primary thing I'm looking to put in my body. I do have a sense of calories as well. What's calorie dense, what's not. And I look to, again, trade them out. And that is the secret to losing weight while you feel full and satisfied, is what I just shared with you. So yeah, I think those are far superior to tracking macros. Tracking macros, because tracking macros, they're really not going to help you solve the core issue, which is really your hunger, and I know like you get so close because you get to the protein. You're like, yeah, but when I eat protein, I feel fuller. Yeah, I get it. But you're never going to believe what happens when you start putting fiber in your body. If you think protein fills you up, you're going to be shocked. You're going to be shocked when you put fiber in your body for a couple months. Shocked. Fiber is way more filling and satisfying than protein even is. And protein's important. I'm not knocking protein, but I'm telling you, fiber is the thing that our bodies have been ingesting for millions of years. That's what our body loves and is built to thrive on. A high carb diet, let me just say it. Every diet on the planet that's been successful for health is a high carb diet, low protein diet. Let it be known. So don't be tricked by that bullshit. As a matter of fact, there's not even a population you could tell me about that's thriving that has a high protein diet. So it's crazy though. Diane says, I pick and choose my sugar. Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. That's what I like to do. Now, again, it's like alcohol. Alcohol has no health benefit to me at all. Okay. But I like drinking alcohol. My quality of life, I like my quality of life. I enjoy my life more when I drink some alcohol. I'm not saying you should feel that way. I wish I didn't think that way. I don't really like that thought. On one level, I say, yeah, it's stupid, Jim. Yeah. But on another level, it's how I feel. So I have drastically reduced my alcohol consumption to a level where I feel comfortable with it. And so that's where I like to be right now. Will I ever give it up completely? Maybe, but I haven't in a long time, and I'm not right now. And that's where I want to be. And I'm the exact same way with the sugar. So to me personally, again, and it falls right in the all or nothing thing. They love to keep you all or nothing because it doesn't work. The diet industry doesn't want you to lose weight, folks. The diet industry is owned by the food industry. Just so you know, Weight Watchers was owned by Heinz. Jenny Craig was owned by Nestle. Atkins Food Products is owned by the same company that owns Onions, Pretzels, and Cinnabon. Slim Fast is owned by the same company that owns Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Do you really think these companies want to teach you how to not eat their bullshit food and lose weight forever? Huh? You know how business works? Because dieting is a recurring business model, and so is the food. And so, when you go on the diet, they're just filling your head up with bullshit so you can stay stuck in this trap. So, yeah. I wish it wasn't this way, but this is why I'm here every day. Because for me, weight's life and death. If you don't know, my dad, he died at 54 of a heart attack, And so for me, and again, that's the blessing and the curse. Obviously, it's the biggest trauma in my life. On the other hand, from that point, I never thought of weight as just a aesthetic thing. You know what I mean? I never thought I just want to lose weight so I can look good. It was always about how long I'm going to live, What's up, Susie from the UK? Love my UK people. UK and America, it's very interesting how similar the eating struggles are. It's very interesting. Let's see here. Karen says, I've learned now I can have a sweet and still lose weight. Before I couldn't just have one. Yeah, exactly. Well, Karen's in the program. So yes, you absolutely, I say it all the time to people because I'll talk about being all or something, or I'll talk about kind of regulating or moderating the sugar. Oh no, I can't do it. I eat one sugar and I eat all of it. Yeah, you can't do it because you've never learned how to moderate. You've never practiced moderation. You've never gotten good at it. There's no diet really teaching you moderation. Don't get me wrong. I mean, like Weight Watchers might say, okay, here's the point, spread them how you want. Fair enough. And I think that's fine. That's not the worst approach, but they never really give you the deep mindset teaching you need to actually be able to do that, in my opinion. And so, yes, and Program Yourself, then a big part of it is being able to have some sugar and then be able to let it go. And it's a very specific part of the program. And the way we do that is we structure the eating. Structuring your eating is really the cornerstone of getting control over your eating. You've got to, I was thinking this yesterday. I'm like, you can't be spontaneous anymore. You really can't. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can have moments of spontaneousness. I'm not okay, but you can't just live a spontaneous life of eating anymore because we live in an environment that it's obesogenic, right? So there's constantly temptations and foods that if you're just going to live a spontaneous life, you're fucked. There's just constant temptation everywhere you look. I myself could never just be like I was, like just spontaneously eat what I feel like eating that day as I go through the day. So I always say, right, the golden rule of Program Yourself Thin is there's no right or wrong. It's only what works for you. My one exception is that I believe you have got to structure your eating. I truly believe that. And so through structuring your eating, I believe that's the foundation to being able to moderate the sugar, the carbs, the cookies, whatever you struggle with. I believe structuring is the foundation to being able to moderate those things. So, and I watch people moderate things all the time. So it's just a skill that you've never learned how to use, basically. Crystal says, my problem is I have all the knowledge for weight loss. I just can't stop sabotaging. Any tips? Yeah. But here's the thing. You don't have all the knowledge for weight loss. You know what I mean? Like you've got all the tactics, right? You know all the diet plans, you know all the nutritional philosophies to lose weight. You don't know the mindset stuff, right? I just went through the mindset, right? The mindset and Program Yourself Thin is 6 things. It's your motivation. How do you motivate yourself? Do you know how to motivate yourself? Do you know how to think? Do you know how to like identify and think of yourself as a thin, healthy person? Do you know how to deal with your habits in a strategic way that really works for you long term? Do you know how to manage your emotions, to feel the emotions you want and deal with the ones you don't want to deal with without food? Do you know how to think like a thin, healthy person? Do you know how to maintain your forward momentum? Do you know how to absorb setbacks? Do you know how to do those things? If you don't know how to do those things, you don't know. You don't have all the knowledge. Then you probably don't know those things. And the lifestyle thing, you know what I mean? Do you have those 8 lifestyle habits now, strategically implement those into your life? Do you know how to set up your eating so that you don't have to consciously, intentionally willpower and force yourself to make the right decisions constantly, but instead can start to rely on your automatic mind to make the right decisions for you? I'm going to assume you have none of that knowledge. So, and that's a good thing, Crystal, because if you don't have that knowledge, now you can finally stop saying, I know what to do, but I just must keep sabotaging. You're not sabotaging yourself. It's like this, Crystal. I don't know. Let's just assume Crystal doesn't play the piano. Never played the piano in your life. If I sit you down at the piano, now you've heard the piano. I'm sure you've heard lots of piano songs, right? I'm sure you know lots of Elton John songs. Okay. So I sit you down at the piano. I say, play me a song. And you say, I don't know how to play a song. I said, stop sabotaging yourself. Sabotaging myself. I'm not sabotaging. I don't know how to do it. Those are 2 totally different things, you know? So you're in the headspace of trying to figure out why you're sabotaging yourself. That's the wrong question. That's like sitting at the piano saying, why am I not playing the notes? How come I'm not playing a beautiful song? Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I sabotaging myself from playing some beautiful music? Because you have no idea how to play beautiful music. So I would change that up, Crystal. And I'd start saying, I have a lot of knowledge about what I'm supposed to eat, but I have no idea how to get myself to do it. I don't know how to motivate myself. I don't know how to think of myself as a thin, healthy person. I don't really know how to deal with my habits strategically. I don't know how to manage my emotions without food. I don't know how to think like a thin, healthy person. And I really don't know how to maintain. I don't know how to get past a couple days or a couple weeks or a couple months. Great. Because now you can learn that stuff. But if you're in your head saying, oh, I know all this, I know everything to do, and I'm just not doing it. What's wrong with me? And that's where most people find themselves. They're constantly, what's wrong with me? How can I keep sabotaging it? You're not sabotaging shit. You don't know how to do it. You literally don't know how to do it. That's what I think. It's fiber for satiety. Yes. Oh, yeah. Vicky says, lately, for some reason, so much emphasis on protein and not on fiber. Why do you think that is? That is because there's way more money in selling protein than there is in selling fiber. It's that simple. It's a financially backed thing. And so this is why you're constantly getting messages of eat more protein, because there's lots of money made off of protein. And I see someone said, what are your favorite fiber foods? My favorite fiber foods are just whole natural foods. Any fruit, any vegetable, whole grains, you're all set. Right? So my favorite fiber foods, I love apples, bananas, salads, cucumbers, tomatoes. The greens I eat, cucumbers, celery, peppers, carrots, onions. Those are my favorites. Potatoes, broccoli. I can just keep going on, but it's just fruits and vegetables. That's all. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains. There you go. You know, keep it simple. And those are the foods that I really rely on, you know, and all those foods keep me satisfied. Beans, beans, another one. Now says, is eating whole foods in portion sizes any good for weight loss? Yeah, it's fucking amazing. I mean, Whole Foods is absolutely, to me, the more whole foods you eat, the easier time you'll have for a million reasons. So yeah. And plus, like if you eat whole natural foods, you don't really have to worry about your portion sizes. It reminds me, like I drive a Jeep. I got a Jeep Wrangler, and it's, listen, a Jeep Wrangler, I don't know if they make them any different now, but a Jeep Wrangler is basically like driving a wall down the highway, right? It's just not aerodynamic at all. It's just like a straight wall, basically. And it's very hard to speed in that thing, So it's like, I think of whole natural foods like that. Like when I'm driving my Jeep and I pass a cop, I never even worry. I'm never worried that I'm going too fast. It's just a slow vehicle. It's not fast, and to go fast, there's a 2003, it's an older one, right? So it's like, it's not built for fast speed. It's just not. And whole natural foods are not built to be overeaten. It's very difficult to eat whole natural foods. I'm not saying it's impossible. People can do it, but it's very hard. And so, yes, eating whole natural foods, you can really ease up on worrying about portion sizes when you start eating more whole natural foods. The chewing, the fiber, the time it takes you to eat it, the nutrients, all that stuff is going to cause you typically to consume less of it. So it makes it easier. Of course, you can still overeat healthy food. I want to make that clear, but it really does support you. Yeah, Crystal, I'll take that on board. Yeah, good, Crystal. Because again, and by the way, Crystal, back to that point real quick, because one of the things I hear, and you weren't saying this, but people say to me all the time, like, Jim, I know what to do to lose weight. I just need to get myself to do it. And I'm just like, that is the biggest bunch of bullshit, because that idea, like, because it goes hand in hand with, I know what I got to do. I just need to get myself to do it. Goes hand in hand with, no matter what I do, I can't lose weight. And that's such bullshit. People come to me and say, "Oh, Jim, no matter what, I've done everything and I can't lose weight." I've never once had that be true with someone I've worked with. Every single time I've worked with someone that they say that, it turns out that they hadn't been doing everything they could have done. They did everything they knew about, but you don't know about shit. You know what I mean? Like, God, that's the part of having a human brain. Your brain thinks you're more aware than you are, so that's always a little bit of a challenge. But again, you want to be in the space where, and I'm always encouraging myself to do this, because your brain is always, I know. It's always saying that, right? But it's like the second you step into, I don't know, that's a glorious space, because now you can learn. And I would much rather learn something that helps me than spend my whole time wondering what's wrong with me and how I'm sabotaging myself, right? Because that ain't even the problem. So, all right, everyone, this has been great. I appreciate all your questions and comments. Sagan says, do you have any good affirmations? Yeah, I got a million of them. I don't call them affirmations. I call them mantras, and they're a core part of the program, because I believe we all kind of think in mantras. And so I'm a big believer in that. That's part of the hypnosis system, is to install mantras into your mind. But I got a million of them. What are the ones that could come into it? Probably there's nothing tastes as good as thin and healthy feels. The calm me is thin and healthy. And I don't know which else. I got a bunch of them. I blank. As soon as you ask me, I forget them all, but those are some of them. What's up? Yeah, Paul says, I absolutely didn't know what I didn't know. Exactly. And that's what we're all dealing with. Our brain thinks we know more than we do. And so we have to remind it, no, I don't know that, which is a great thing, because once we don't know something, we can go and learn it. So, that's kind of nice. All right. So, all right, everyone. Yeah, I'm going to get out of here. If you're not in my world, please click the link in my bio, go get the free hypnosis session. It's called The New Thin Me. It's Kickstart Your Weight Loss. I got a training video that I give you for free as well. I got emails I'm sending. I got cool stuff coming your way. So go on and get in there. It's all free. And if, you like this, I'm here every day, Monday through Friday live. Happy to talk to you, happy to coach you and help you along. This is a mission for me, so I do it every day. And if you miss this and like listening to it, it's also a podcast. Program Yourself Thin. It's on all the podcast platforms, and you can go listen to that every day. It's usually up there. Go check it out. Vicky says, that has been my mistake, overeating on healthy foods like a tray of salad, a can of beans, etc. I don't know, Vicky. I'll push back a little bit. I don't know if that's really been your biggest mistake. I'm going to guess it could be, because there are people that do that, but more often than not, when people say that's their biggest mistake, it's not. It's usually because we're blind to the stuff. It's probably the cookies, the ice cream, the pizza, the other stuff, but it could be the salad and the beans too. But make sure you do a double check on that. All right, everyone, we get out of here. We'll be back again tomorrow. Have a super day, and we'll talk soon.